And as a consequence, and they have, the other aspect you have to understand is that really there's one major supplier of gas compression compressors, and that's a company called Ariel. And Ariel has basically 80% of the market. And so they have all the contact, they have all the distributors and all the engine manufacturers tie up with them. And that's what they call a compressor match. So Ariel has the lion's share, and they to some extent dictate that match means that you have to go with one or the other depending on your application. And I'm not too familiar with how you cite, all that aspect of it, but I know that there's differences. So as a consequence, that's a barrier to that replacement engine kind of business. So I hope that helps explain it a little bit.
Yeah, I guess, to summarize it, it seems obviously when it's installed, it is impossible to move out. You are in a mission-critical application, regardless of what it's being used for, be it gas compression or standby power or peak power, whatever, wherever you are, it seems like it's a mission-critical application, and so therefore, during the useful life, it is impossible to switch out. I guess the genesis of the question was how easy is it, or why would a customer then switch upon the useful life of that engine coming up? But it seems like, to your point, provided it's doing its job, a customer probably wouldn't want to switch out that engine. They want to go with the manufacturer that they have been using and is reliable.
There's also that the customer builds up, because it's a long life, it's a long-term relationship when you buy an engine. It's not like your car that you change every 3 years. You're going to be stuck with that for 8 or 10 years. So your personnel who are servicing it, they're trained. So it's much easier to go with that same manufacturer because you've got trained personnel. Most of the users, particularly in both applications, gas compression and power generation, they usually have their own. There is some servicing done by distributors and third parties, but invariably a user would have his own people to change spark plugs, to change oil, to do overheads, So they develop that experience. And skilled people has become a challenge of the industry, like it has in many other industries, where training has not been, as the workforce gets older, there's not the trained workforce coming forward. So as a consequence, if you have somebody who really knows what they're doing, then you like to hang on to them. And if they have that experience with that particular manufacturer or that type of technology, then you like to hang on to it. So there's that's another aspect, I think, that has to be borne in mind. The other thing about particularly the gas compression is the types of gases that you come up against. So that's one thing where that's why the thoroughbred that you have for power generation doesn't work in gas compression, because a lot of people, I know prior to GE buying Waukesha, there was a drive towards, somebody had built a thoroughbred, applying that to the gas compression. They tried and failed miserably. It's a totally different application, and the gases are so varied and so difficult to handle. And this thing about the knock, you can get variations in the BTUs of the fuel or the knock resistance of the fuel, even from the same particular source where you're maybe gas compressing the gas. So your engine has to be able to cope with that, has to be able to vary, and the controls have to be flexible enough so that you can keep going, and you don't want to ruin the engine just because that gas changes. So that's a durability type robustness that you have to have in a gas compression engine that you can't tolerate in that situation, but you can often when you've got a more of a engine that's specific, known what fuel is coming in, what you're going to do with it in a power generation situation.
Yeah, and I guess, and sorry that this is a really basic question, but in the gas compression